Is my face in it? Hi, I'm Ashley with Accomplished Quilting in Tennessee, and today I wanted to talk about a couple different ways to pick stitches because nobody's perfect, and if you're a quilter, eventually you're going to be picking stitches at some point. So one of the first things I want to show is one of my favorite products we have here at Accomplished Quilting, and this is a thread picker. And one of the things I like about this thread picker is that compared to a seam ripper, the seam ripper has a blade on it, which is really helpful, but the thread picker has a very small point which allows you to get right under the stitches, and if you accidentally poke the fabric, it's rounded with no blade, so it's not going to tear your fabric. So if you poke the fabric, just like rub the fabric and the hole goes away. So there's no risk of slicing a hole when using the thread picker. And so the best way to use this is to actually get yourself a tail going. So you want to get started, and then with the thread picker you can, if you can get a good rhythm going of just pulling and swiping with the thread picker. So it goes pretty fast once you get that rhythm to start pulling stitches. So we sell a lot of these. Usually when we get them in, we sell out pretty fast. So, and then when you change directions, just got to change how my hands are oriented here. And get going in the other direction. So this is one of those tough spots where you're glad you don't have a blade. Because I'm going to poke the fabric a little bit because I'm in a point here. So I just pulled it and get myself another top tail that I can use to get back in my groove of going nice and fast with the thread picker. So that's one way, picking stitches, keeping your quilt top nice and safe. So you can see that goes pretty fast. Obviously another method of picking fast, you might be familiar with this, is just sliding your traditional seam ripper in and then popping. So if you keep tension on that top thread, every time you slide in and pop with the blade, you can pull usually 3 or 4 stitches at a time. Now this last way, I'm trying to work a little quickly. This is a quilt, a customer quilt that came in, and her machine had to go in for repair, and so she asked us if we could quilt this same pattern for her, which is a pattern we happen to have. So I went to put the pattern on and I accidentally put in the wrong size. So I'm needing to pick out a repeat, and this is just a straight razor blade. This one is actually from Cricut. I got it on sale at Joann's. So just anything with a really sharp blade. I have seen other quilters online using the mini eyebrow razors. So you can get those at the dollar store or Walmart. Just the little mini eyebrow razor has that flat blade on it. And so you might have heard this called skinning a quilt, but this has been the fastest method for me since I have to pick out a lot of stuff, as I'm just going to pull the quilt top back and then just gently tap these stitches. And since I have quite a bit of pattern here, I'm going to be tapping in a couple different spots. Now with this method, you do have to be very careful that you don't touch the blade to the fabric and that you're actually just tapping the threads. But this does go a little bit faster than doing a stitch at a time. So just tapping those threads there and pulling. And with lots of changes in points, changes in direction and points in the fabric, it does take a bit of time, but you can see I can do across the surface here a fair amount of stitches all at the same time. So if you've heard of skinning a quilt, that's what that is. Just a nice flat razor blade. And again, cheapest way to find one of these is one of those little eyebrow razors. So I hope you find this tip helpful. I'm Ashley with Accomplished Quilting in Tennessee, where we make quilting easy.